Hey, I'm Izzy Joing. Every time a meditation teacher mentions a soul or a true self, I cry a little on the inside. Here's why. Let me back up a little. Who you are is of interest to a lot of people. Answers come from lots of different places. Ancient traditions of seekers, yogis, and religious adherents, to modern therapies and self-help methods. Almost all of these groups identify self as a fixed identity. This matches a common intuition about you being a permanent existing thing, that there is something you can point to and say, I am that through the passage of time. In meditation circles, there are two popular ideas about this continued fixed identity. The first is the groups that claim there is a soul. This soul transcends the physical world and is the permanent you that exists through time. Most meditation practices from major religions like Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, and Jainism are a part of this soul crew. Secondly, there are groups who claim there is a true self. They believe there is a version of you that is completely aligned with desirable ideals. This is your true self. This true self is realized, is fulfilled through personal potential, or by foregoing social and cultural constraints. Most New Age, wellness, and self-help meditation practices fit into this true self crew. Both groups agree that there is a self that is unchanging, real, definable, knowable, and attainable. They differ on where they think you are, but they mostly agree on where you are not. Both agree that the physical body is not identical to you because the body is worldly, some think unclean, subject to death, or only serving basic needs. Both agree that thoughts and feelings are also not identical to you, but are either distractions from your connection to a divine soul or stepping stones to help you actualize a true self that isn't bound by just one thought or one feeling. The soul crew assert that even individual consciousness is not self, because conscious awareness is transient, but the soul is eternal. The true self crew might say that some form of conscious awareness is synonymous with this true self. But for us, that doesn't really matter. What does matter is that both groups see the purpose of meditation, along with analytical thinking, yoga, prayer, and other practices, is to strip away your ignorant understanding of you being body, thoughts, feelings, or consciousness, and realize your true self or your soul is a lived identity that is pristine and unalterable. It sounds nice. Now, these views are very, very popular, but they both share two problems that make the idea of a permanent self hard to believe. The first problem occurs when we think about change. All things are continually changing. Never is anything permanent. Change is the very way the universe works. For a more detailed explanation of this idea, watch this video. But for a soul or a true self to exist, it would either have to change with the body, feelings, and thoughts, or it would require an unchanging essence unique only to it. If a soul or a true self changed with your physical presence, it wouldn't be eternal or unalterable, which ruins the idea that there is a you that survives over time in your soul. So perhaps the soul or true self doesn't change over time, but then it would need to be something separate always from your body, feelings, and thoughts. Such an unchanging entity can't change or affect your body, thoughts, or feelings, and so can never be you. Thus, applying the concept of continual change makes the idea of a permanent soul self impossible either way. The second problem comes from applying our understanding of interconnectedness. There is a metaphorical web that connects everything to everything else. Nothing exists in isolation or completely independently of other things. Rather, everything that exists in the world mutually relies on other things for their existence. This also describes how things originate. It is impossible for something to be created, to originate, out of thin air, out of nowhere. Rather, everything mutually relies on all other things to be created, as well as to exist. Applying this idea, a soul or a true self either relies mutually on other things to be created and exist, or it's a special entity that doesn't rely on other things to be created and exist. So if a soul or a true self does mutually rely on other things to be created and exist, when the things that make up this soul or true self change and decay, doesn't matter what they are, then the soul or true self will have lost the things that it needs to exist and will also decay. And so because change occurs every moment, a soul or a true self that was interconnected with other things would be constantly changing, and so cannot be the you over time. The only other option is that the soul or the true self is really a special thing that doesn't rely on other things to be created and to exist. If that is so, then again, the soul itself can't be a useful descriptor of your personal identity, because if your soul or true self does not rely on anything, including you, to be created or to exist, how is it connected to you? How does it describe your personal identity? So applying the interconnectedness of all things makes the soul or the true self incompatible with human identity. So instead of trying to marry obvious contradictions, we have another option, that fixed personal identity is best understood as a convenient fiction, one that is useful for us to distinguish things on a relative level, distinguish people, distinguish objects, but at some point we have incorrectly mistaken it for actual reality. There is no self, not in your body, not in your thoughts, feelings, or conscious awareness, not in your name, not in your form, not in your actions, not in your likes and dislikes, definitely not in your soul or some kind of true self. Rather, your identity is never fixed. It is changing every moment. There is no you to hold on to. This is liberating. If there is no you, there is no hurt that can stick, and there's no joy that needs to be fulfilled. You are, at this moment, right now, always changing, never set. You is something totally undefinable, different every moment, at this now. So, next time a meditation teacher, yoga instructor, therapist, swami, or wandering vagrant tries to tell you about your soul or helping you find your true self, just remember, all things change, all things are interconnected. So, a permanent soul, a true self, cannot exist. You is something totally undefinable, different every moment, at the now. If you know a friend who needs to hear this, please share it with them. Have at me in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and go easy.